Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. As war continues in the Middle East,
I have friends with family being held in Gaza as we speak.
Worry deepens among locals here with loved ones still missing there. Plus, an earthquake rattles the Pacific Northwest.
The Juan de Fuca plate is going underneath the North America plate, and that's the plate that where the earthquake was.
A 4.5 magnitude strikes near Seattle and is felt in BC. And a pricier Thanksgiving this year.
It's a marvelous place for people that need help, and we can't afford the food right now.
Local charities see an uptick in demand with inflation reaching new heights.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tanya Fletcher. We begin in the Middle East, where the violent conflict between Israel and Hamas is now in its third day. Today, Hamas announced it's open to discussions over a possible truce with Israel. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes are continuing across Gaza, and rocket attacks on Israel are ongoing from militants inside Gaza and also now from Lebanon. The escalation was triggered by a surprise attack on Israel by Hamas on Saturday, resulting in the country's deadliest day in 5 decades. More than 800 people have been killed in Israel, while Palestinian authorities say nearly 700 have now died on their side. We begin our coverage with the CBC's Chris Brown, who's on the ground in the region.
The might of Israel's arsenal thundered down on Gaza's cities, turning vast swaths of the Palestinian enclave to rubble in retaliation for Hamas's unprecedented attack. Israel's military told people to leave, but many either could not or did not and perished. Not even schools were sanctuaries, said this man. There is no safe place in Gaza. Israel confirmed its goal is to cut the Gaza Strip off from the rest of the world. There is no electricity, there is no entry to Gaza. Gaza is under siege, said the Israeli army general. But Hamas has Israeli hostages, dozens, perhaps more than 100. A spokesman for the group's armed wing issued a chilling threat that they would begin executing captives publicly if the bombing continued without warnings ahead of time. Israel has mobilized more than 300,000 soldiers, and an invasion of Gaza could be next. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed the threat from militants is not over, as some remain at large in Israel. Hamas's missile barrage also continues. Several people were injured in Ashkelon when a rocket smashed into a residential area. Our CBC News crew had to hit the dirt after Israel's Iron Dome anti-missile system detected an incoming Hamas rocket. At least a portion of it struck very close to our location. At a hospital in Ashkelon, roughly 12 kilometers from Gaza, we met a survivor of the horrific executions at the nearby outdoor music festival.
I arrived to the party.
Raz Cohen lost 2 close friends and was visiting 2 others who were injured.
It was something like 200 people that ran away in the open area, and they shoot in all of us. I saw people get shot in the head, in the leg, in the shoulder. Died in my eyes. I see a lot of bodies.
Orthopedic surgeon Tomer Aronson has treated many of the wounded, and he struggles to express the horror he's witnessed.
Never in this magnitude. Never. I've never seen such brutality. Like entire families like butchered in their homes, family after family after family. It's insane.
That's the CBC's Chris Brown reporting. And turning now to what more we know tonight about a Canadian believed to have been killed when Hamas attacked that music festival. Alexander Look's family says he died a hero. The CBC's Kwambina Oduro has their story, along with the eyewitness account of another Canadian who made it out alive.
He was our shield, I swear.
This is the phone call Alexander Look's parents got after they say their son was killed.
I swear to you, he was our shield. If it wasn't for him, all 30 of us in there would be dead.
During the attack, they were on the phone with Alexander and heard everything.
I felt those gunshots in my... I just remember screaming, they're killing my son right now.
Look was among thousands at an outdoor techno music festival Saturday near the Gaza border. He was one of more than 250 people who were killed. Look's father says he's doing everything he can to get his son's body home.
It's a Jewish tradition. So until he's buried, we cannot be in mourning. So I think it's even harder now, knowing that he's over there and we're here, waiting.
Global Affairs Canada has not confirmed Look's death, but said Sunday it's working to confirm the reports. Another Canadian who was at the music festival narrowly escaped.
I think I hear gunfire, really faint in the distance, really fast, really far, but I'm not sure. And then just as we're about to leave, we all start hearing gunfire. And then I'm like, we have to go now.
Shai Klein Weinstein says he and the people he was with managed to flee by car.
I thought if we waited too long for anything, we would die. And there was no fear during the whole thing. It was just get out, get out, get out, get out. Be afraid when you're back home.
Weinstein says all the people he was with are okay, but
there's a lot of people I made friends with who were there who were not as lucky. Some who got wounded and some who went with friends who didn't make it.
Hundreds from Montreal's Jewish community gathered tonight for a vigil. Many here say they'll be at a rally tomorrow in support of Israel as they continue to mourn. Kubino Duro, CBC News, Montreal.
All of this as Israel moves to strike back hard, blocking fuel, food, and water to Gaza after what many are calling Israel's 9/11. Meanwhile, there are rallies across Canada today, some in support of Palestinians, others for Israel. Later this evening, vigils in support of Israelis caught up in the violence are planned, decrying the attacks by Hamas that left hundreds dead. Here in Vancouver, demonstrators also called for freedom and independence in Palestine. Our Yvette Brand continues our coverage with more from that rally.
In Vancouver, one of many pro-Palestine rallies attracting hundreds. Nasser Najjar says he's protesting in support of Palestinians and fears for his sisters in Gaza.
I am upset, sad, angry, but I believe one day we will have our liberation. We will be a liberated state. We will have our freedom. We will not live under humiliation that must happen someday. Someday we will be treated like humans.
In the lead up to the protests, Vancouver's mayor spoke to the police and issued a statement denouncing any who advocate violence. He said, as people gather today, I hope they will overcome hatred and show the basic humanity required to condemn outright and obvious acts of evil. Tonight, the Prime Minister spoke out in support of Israel at a rally in Ottawa.
Canada, unequivocally and in the strongest possible terms, condemns these terrorist attacks perpetrated by Hamas. We stand with Israel and reaffirm our support for Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international law.
One of many gatherings in support of Israelis killed or captured in surprise attacks on Saturday.
It's the most number of Jewish people that have been killed at one time since the Holocaust. So we're here to show solidarity with our friends and family in Israel.
While there was some tension at this Vancouver rally today, for the most part, demonstrators like Amal Joha spoke out for loved ones in danger back in Gaza.
They have right to live in peace life. We wanted them to live happy as we live here.
And left, at least today, in peace. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Vancouver.
British Columbians who have loved ones in Israel are watching in terror and shock as the conflict unfolds. One Israeli student at UBC says the past few days have been a nightmare.
I haven't been sleeping. I've just been on texts, on calls. It's been several days so far that my friends and I are just living like minute by minute, like going by scraps of what they're posting on social media.
We will continue to have in-depth coverage on this developing story throughout the week, and tune into The National at 10 o'clock tonight. The CBC's Adrienne Arsenault will be in Tel Aviv with the very latest. In other news, today is Thanksgiving, yes, and it's a time to gather with friends and family and to share food and company. At the Union Gospel Mission in Vancouver, thousands gathered for the annual Thanksgiving Day feast. And as Joel Ballard is finding out, it's one of many BC charities seeing an uptick in need with a mounting homelessness crisis.
Outside, it's wet and cold, but in here, the food, drinks, and conversations are flowing. Every year, the Union Gospel Mission provides Thanksgiving dinner. Today, around 2,200 dishes will be served.
Having a space today where people can come in, not only have a hot, nutritious meal, but feel like they're a part of a community and get to perhaps know some of our outreach workers is more important than ever.
2,000 pounds of turkey has been roasted, 800 pounds of potatoes have been mashed. And you can't forget the pumpkin pie.
It's the second time we've been here, and I really enjoy it. It's a marvelous place for people that need help, and we can't afford the food right now.
This Thanksgiving meal comes less than a week after Greater Vancouver's latest homeless count found 4,800 people living without homes in the region, a steep increase from past years.
For many of us who work and walk alongside folks who are experiencing homelessness, those numbers weren't actually surprising. They were confirmation for what we've been seeing. Our shelter has been consistently full every single night just about for the 18 months.
For the first time in 10 years, UGM had to increase its donation requests to keep up with soaring costs. Mucci says the dinner serves as a starting point to connect guests with services, while for others, it's a warm smile and a warm meal.
I do every Christmas, I do every Thanksgiving, and I do every chance I get when I'm passing by at 11 in the morning. Well, you're accepted here unconditionally.
Aside from major holidays, UGM serves meals daily. This feast, the result of the efforts of an army of volunteers.
I've been volunteering here for, I think this is my 13th year. And it's always a pleasure for me to come here and give back to the community, to help other people. And, it's very gratifying.
In the face of the rising costs of living, the challenges of everyday life, the growing homelessness crisis, many still took the time to offer thanks.
Haichka, Siam, Kwako, Omigwich, Hawa, also Harigato, Shishi, Gracias, and of course, Merci beaucoup.
Joel Ballard, CBC News, Vancouver.
A small earthquake sent rumbles through parts of BC last night. The 4.3 magnitude quake struck northwest of Seattle, and tremors could be felt on Vancouver Island.
This is actually really good timing because it's not only reminding you that you're living in an earthquake zone, but it's also reminding you that next week we're having the Great British Columbia Shakeout Earthquake Drill, which is when we should all be practicing what to do in an earthquake, which is to drop, cover, hold on.
The quake's epicenter was 80 kilometers from Victoria. It didn't pose any danger here, but seismologists say it is a good reminder that BC is positioned on a fault line. The Great British Columbia Shakeout, by the way, will happen October 19th at 10:19 in the morning. And our weather and science specialist, Darius Madavi, joins us with more now. And Darius, not totally unusual, but not completely normal either to have earthquakes around here.
It's always a little bit funny to feel the ground shake. CBC spoke with several people who mentioned what they felt, which was just, as you said, out of the ordinary. But yeah, nothing too serious. It hit here in Washington State, but could be felt in the greater Victoria area. No tsunami or anything like that reported. Fairly minor earthquake, but again, just strange to feel it. And also a good reminder that we are in an earthquake area and that the shakeout will be happening. So if anything, good timing. Also a good reminder is how much rain we're going to be getting over the next few days. We started to see that on the island and then passing through parts of the province. So I'll be back later this hour with the full forecast about when and where we can expect that rain to come.
We'll look forward to that. Thanks, Darius.
Thanks, Tanya.
Well, still ahead, we take you back to 2011 and a new documentary looking at the Stanley Cup riots that paralyzed this city 12 years ago. More on that coming up. And thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. While many people are spending this Thanksgiving Monday with family and friends, staff at a particular restaurant in Cranbrook are volunteering their time to give back. As our Corey Bullock explains, they're offering a free turkey dinner to anyone looking for community.
What started as a small gesture has turned into a grand tradition.
We didn't know it was going to be an annual event. Of course, at that time, we decided to close down on Thanksgiving Monday and just offer a free dinner to the entire community, basically.
Since 2018, the Fire Hall restaurant has hosted a Thanksgiving dinner for the community, free of charge.
It's not about just feeding the most in need, but it's just about building that sense of community that this side of the valley just never really had.
The restaurant typically feeds between 300 and 500 people, and staff volunteer their time to host the event.
And then overall, probably 25, 30 hours worth of professionals helping. Yesterday, everybody prepped all the carrots and got things going, and today we'll be cutting all the potatoes and the turkey.
And the restaurant pays out of pocket for all the food and supplies.
We've all felt like a huge pinch on inflation this year. That's kind of why I feel a lot of people are going to come and take advantage of the event, because $300 to put on a Thanksgiving dinner for your family of 4 is getting pretty expensive to do.
He says the restaurant's overall investment for the event has gone up 12 to 15%, making it more challenging to host. But the staff agree it's an important day.
We continue to do it largely because the staff would mutiny if we didn't. It really means a lot to not only us, but everybody. And the staff, I would say they sort of carry the torch on this particular day.
Robert says anyone and everyone is welcome to join, whether it's families with young children or someone away from family. It's about coming together as a community.
All of us believe that you get out of life what you put into it. And days like today, I think we honestly just feel lucky to be a part of.
They'll be serving up all of the classics, from turkey and mashed potatoes to pumpkin pie. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Cranbrook.
Welcome back. The last screening of I'm Just Here for the Riot was featured at the Vancouver International Film Fest this weekend. It's a documentary about the riots that descended on downtown Vancouver after the Canucks lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. We caught up with some who watched the film.
All this for a hockey game. It does feel like a very core experience as a BC kid.
It was good to show some of the people who were participating in the riots and also the people who were there but were protecting property and stuff like that, and just hearing the different sides of that night. Yeah.
I've heard of people coming down just for the riot, right? It's well, you're not really a hockey fan if you're just coming just for the riot, right? You're just here to riot. The outcome of the game, that sure didn't help anything, but it was almost like an inevitability.
I was 7 when it happened, yeah.
Living downtown.
So after the game happened, I looked down Granville and there was smoke rising, and I think we kind of all knew immediately what was happening.
Filmmakers Asia Youngman and Kat Jamie are behind the documentary. It features interviews with Canucks players, fans, and yes, even some who took part in the riots. Artificial intelligence, automation, and robotics are reshaping many parts of the economy with potential to shake up entire industries and, yes, jobs. Some companies in the meat processing sector see the possibility of big benefits. But as Kyle Bax explains, embracing technology is proving to be quite a challenge.
Cutting, trimming, and deboning. Meat processing is one of the most labor-intensive industries. AI and other technology could help, but the sector is also one of the most difficult to modernize.
We're laggards in many ways. We're making, small investments, but definitely behind the curve compared to some other sectors.
Working with meat is a challenge in itself, since no two animals are the same. So far, robotic equipment is not able to make precise cuts and can also struggle to accurately tell the difference between skin, fat, bone, and meat in chicken and turkey facilities.
Super difficult. Getting better though. Robots are becoming more tactile.
Any equipment also has to be tough enough to operate in cool temperatures and withstand high-pressure spraying as part of a facility's routine sanitation. There are possible benefits from the improved technology, experts say, to overcome labor shortages or at least assist workers on the production line. Other potential improvements could include food safety and quality.
I'm not aware of anywhere where there are companies that have really sort of cutting-edge technology, pardon the pun, in a meatpacking plant. I think that the technology hasn't come far enough yet.
There is plenty at stake for the industry, especially with increasing competition from companies selling lab-grown meat and plant-based protein. That's why some experts say it's so important for meat packers to use more technology to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of their facilities across the country. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
Up next, dust off your winter wardrobe. There's a bit of a chill in the air. But when it comes to scarves, just how big is too big? We'll attempt to find out after the break. Stay with us.
They took the sign off the shipping and receiving door, and that marks the end of CBC's involvement at 1200 West Georgia. The old building is full of memories for many people who helped with the birth of television in Vancouver. There were lots of growing pains, and finally in 1976, television grew up and out of the West Georgia location and into new facilities. But it started way back in December 1953.
Good evening. My name is Kenneth Capel. I'm the BC Regional Representative of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And I'm very happy this evening to welcome you to station CBUT. This station is another step in the service to the citizens of British Columbia. For many years you have been having service from our station CBU. And now we are bringing you television via this new station.
And the roof was too small or too narrow. The facilities were unusable. You had to crawl on your hands and knees under a bunch of pipes to get into the newsroom. We loathed, despised it, and we're going to miss it terribly. Our new facilities, of course, are marvelous, and we wouldn't come back to the old garage. But coming back here today on our last day here, it's brought back a lot of wonderful memories.
What were some of the unique problems that the building presented to doing television?
What you hear going behind us now. Behind me is the news studio, and these cars, the noise just went right through the wall. And to say nothing of the kid playing tennis against the door, he was rather sensational in the summertime. But these problems were things you lived with and you grew up with, so to speak, and we don't have them anymore. Sometimes I wish we did.
I think one of the things I remember about the old building sort of had to do with what happened there and a route that you took to get guests into the studio. I had just been a script assistant for a couple of years, and I was to pick somebody up at the reception desk to put them live on camera with Bob Quintrell on the old 7 o'clock show. And we were all live on air waiting for this man to arrive. None of us had ever seen him before, and the reception desk phone said, "I think your gentleman's here." So I shot down from the control room to go and pick him up, saw somebody sitting in a chair, dragged him up to the studio. We had 30 seconds before we came out of commercial, plunked him down beside Quintrell, came up out of the commercial. Bob asked his key question, and the gentleman looked at him and he said, "This is wonderful treatment I'm getting here. I just came down to see Reach for the Top. One of my kids is on one of the teams." So I sat there thinking I was going to be fired. My career was going to be very short with the CBC.
But it wasn't.
No, it certainly hasn't been.
I took a walk through the place, and
boy, the memories do swirl around your head. It's, yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia involved with the people that are no longer with us, the people that we worked with who've gone on to different things. Those are the memories you have.
That winds up another 6:45 news and newsreel from our television studios in Vancouver. Another edition tomorrow night. Good night.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox. The Chutzpah Festival returns November 2nd to 23rd with an exciting lineup of performances, including dance, music, theater, and more. For tickets, visit chutzpahfestival.com. And join CBC Vancouver's Leanne Young at the Alumni UBC Achievement Awards November 14th. The event honors members of the UBC community through their endeavors and commitment to help shape a better world.
Welcome back. Weighing in at a whopping 1,152 pounds, a woman from Vancouver Island has claimed the biggest pumpkin award at a contest in Metro Vancouver this weekend. It was named Walter, and hers was among several gourds competing at the annual event in Langley. Our Yasmin Gandam stopped by to chat with some of the other contestants.
Something about pumpkins, they just make people smile.
Contestants from across the province descended on Langley with one thing in hand, a giant pumpkin.
Trend continues.
Hoping for theirs to be the largest.
My dad had no idea what he was up against. I bet taking care of a giant pumpkin is as hard as taking care of a kid.
Trevor Halliday from Maple Ridge has been growing pumpkins for years, even traveling to contests in the United States. And he'll be competing as the only Canadian in a regatta later this year to row with his pumpkin in hand.
I got a second last year. My wife got a third. This year we took 2 down to the States. We got a couple thirds down there. It's been a good year.
But it's not all fun and games. Contestants say be prepared to carve out more than just your pumpkin.
It's a lot of work. Like I did 4 this year. I'm up at 4 in the morning, an hour and a half work in the morning. I call these my pumpkin abs.
The annual event organized by Giant Pumpkins BC, the man behind it, once upon a time, a winner himself.
Yeah, 2016, I think it was like 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, I think. Yeah, I think it was like 7 years in a row.
The aim is to showcase local growers and foster community spirit.
And it's good to illustrate and show kids a good thing about farming and agricultural, and it's a really great way to connect with kids, right?
For people of all ages, it's about more than just the gourd. It's a chance to learn about farming and maybe get some tips to compete in the next challenge. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Langley.
It is the season, the fall season. Darius Madavi joins us now with the forecast. And Darius, the sun didn't quite stretch right through the long weekend, but we can't complain with the weather we've had this Thanksgiving.
No, it wasn't too bad, and it is starting to feel like the fall season, at least here on the coast. We're still 5 to 10 degrees above seasonal today for the interior, but tomorrow that changes as temperatures start to come down, especially in the south, but up north as well. Same story on Wednesday. Temperatures come up a little bit for the coast, but then down for the southern interior. So temperatures looking good over the next few days, returning back to normal. In terms of rain, also a little bit more normal for this time of year. It starts to come in. Lots for the parts of the interior even, but the coast really is where we're seeing the most of it, especially for parts of the west coast of the island. And here in Vancouver, downtown, most of Vancouver, we're seeing probably between 10 and 20 millimeters. For the North Shore, as usual, a little bit more than that. And for our tomorrow, though, we're just seeing mostly some scattered showers pop up, so no guarantee we're going to see them everywhere here, but a few places should start to see them. Prince George, small chance, but it is possible to make it that far north. And here in Vancouver, we've got that couple days more of rain tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we start to clear up a little bit for the end of this week.
All right, we will be thankful for that. Thanks, Darius.
Thanks, Tanya.
Well, fall weather means it is time for some cozy layers, yes. And for the last few years, the blanket scarf has been a big favorite. The CBC's Lisa Christensen set out to find out just how hard it would be to make one from scratch.
Now, what if I wanted to make a Lenny Kravitz style scarf? Have you seen that?
Thank you. I have seen these photos of the huge maxi scarf, the one that looks basically like a blanket that he's wearing, that huge scarf. You would need quite a bit of yarn for that. And looking at the photos of the scarf, I think that they're using a kind of a thicker yarn. It's a much more bulky, fluffy kind of yarn, so that way you can actually get more fabric faster. Otherwise, if you're using really tiny yarn, it's going to take a lot of stitches and a lot of time to knit that scarf. So if we were going to make a giant version of this, I imagine it might be like 3 times as many.
Really?
So maybe 6 skeins, maybe 8 skeins of yarn. And so if 4 of these is 1 pound, 8 skeins would be a 2-pound scarf. I started knitting back in grade 4. There was a book that I got that was like a mail away for free stuff book. And so I mailed away. You send away with like a self-addressed stamped envelope, and you send away for something, and they sent me a free booklet on how to knit. And it was like a black and white booklet with all these illustrations, and I just figured it out with like, you know, my mom had leftover knitting needles, her friends gave me yarn, and I just practiced and learned just following those illustrations. Knitted blankets, we've woven blankets, and you just wear the blanket around you, and it's like a giant cocoon. It's really comforting.
And that is our show for this Monday, October 9th. For news anywhere, anytime, you can download the free CBC News app. You can always find us online as well at cbc.ca/BC. Thank you for sharing part of your long weekend with us. Good night and happy Thanksgiving.